Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I am Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited about this deep dive training today because it's kind of a deep dive training, but also kind of a fangirl moment for me because this weekend I went to the Youpreneur Summit hosted by the amazing Chris Ducker. And today I'm going to share my experiences, my key learns, and all of the things I took away from the summit. So really, really excited about that. Now, the other thing is that I sound a little bit hoarse. A, because I went to the Youpreneur Summit, I was talking to tons and tons of people. Also B, because Sam brought home a cold. So I sound like a slightly old, middle-aged man, which is a little bit different for me. Some people are saying that the husky is working out. I'm not really feeling it, if I'm honest. But yeah, so if you are wondering why I don't sound quite as Minnie Mouse-esque as normal, it is because I have a cold and I blame Youpreneur fully for losing my voice. So there you go. I also would like to share, just before I dive in today, because, sometimes it's fun. It's fun to share the screw-ups that I make in my business. I just recorded this episode. Okay, so I literally just recorded this episode. It was great. It was going really well. I ended it. And when you have that moment where you're like, oh my God, I just rocked that. Yeah. When I went to exit the recording, turns out my microphone was on mute. That's 46 minutes and 12 seconds of my life that I'm never going to get back. So I'm just checking that my microphone is on. It is. You'll be glad to know. So that's all good. But let's dive in because this is a really, really exciting one for me. It's not often that I get to leave my house. Okay, that's not because, when Sam goes to work during the week, he just locks me in here. It is because I'm pretty introverted. Big crowds of people kind of are not always my thing. It takes a lot of brain power to deal with big crowds of people and a lot of energy, and sometimes I don't always have that. But also because in the UK, there aren't actually that many events. There aren't actually that many events that are put on that have great speakers, that are no pitch events. That one's quite important because I hate it when you go to that event, you spent a ton of time there. It's actually been relatively interesting, even if the info is a bit basic. And then suddenly there's this pitch at the end where it's like, yeah, so I just want to let you know that I usually have this product, system, service, program that's usually $100 squillion, million, gazillion dollars. But for today only, because you came to this event, you can have it for only $12. I hate those. Really, really, really gets my goat. So it is unusual in the UK that we have these kinds of events. And so I do travel for them. But obviously traveling to the US, traveling to other places can be a little bit of a trek for one event. So I was really, really excited when Chris Ducker decided to hold Youpreneur in London. I was like, oh my God, this is an hour away from my house. I couldn't be more excited. I have to go. And I didn't even know, if I'm honest, who Chris Ducker was before Youpreneur. Okay, his Facebook ad popped up in my newsfeed. Good work, whoever his Facebook ads people are, popped up in my newsfeed and said, hey, we've got this amazing event in the UK with some incredible speakers. And I was like, I have to go. Because when I saw the speaker list, I was blown away, okay? We're talking John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, Joanna Penn, Carrie Green, Janet Murray, lots and lots of really great people, okay? And I was like, I have to go. And it was incredible, okay? Live events, yes, I'm really introverted. Yes, and it is surprising. Most people do not think of introvert when they think of me. But I do get a lot of energy that's depleted when I go to things where there are lots and lots of people. So that classes me as introverted. However, I also do love karaoke. Really love karaoke. Really love making a complete pillock of myself. So that also makes me extroverted. So, I have the two. And it's one of the reasons that I really love live events. I absolutely love getting to hug people in real life. That's always really cool. I love meeting people that I've perhaps been following online or who've been part of my community. That's always really fun. And I find that the energy at a live event is really cool. Everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone wants to learn. Everyone understands the the difficulties and also the things to be celebrated when you're running a business. And that's really cool. It's really cool to be surrounded by 300 other people who have experienced the same challenges as you, who want to celebrate similar wins. It's just really, really cool. So anyway, when I kind of looked at, okay, Youpreneur is going to be in the UK, I also thought about, well, why do I want to go? Like, why do I want to go to a conference or a summit? You know, what's the point in me going? Because let's face it, these things cost money. And the Youpreneur tickets were not cheap, which was why it's such a great event. Because it was high quality speakers, you know, great venue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But these things do cost money in our businesses, okay? And so there does have to be a clear purpose and a clear reason for going. For me, it was very much, I want to network, you know, without sounding hugely mercenary and kind of like one of those people who goes to networking events and just pushes their business cards onto randoms. I really, really wanted to be with other people for a weekend that just got it, you know, that weren't my mum or my boyfriend or my friends, that are super proud of what I do and really, you know, are interested, but also don't really understand what it's like to be sat at home in front of your laptop for sort of 8 hours a day, you know. And so it was really good for me to kind of go, yeah, I want to be at this event. I really want to network with smart people who want to do similar things to me. And also, I want to learn from some of the best people in the industry. You know, I wanted to learn from people who had achieved way, way, way cooler things than I had. You know, we had a New York Times bestseller, we had iTunes top podcasters, we had people who were just dominating their industries. And that for me is phenomenal. To have that amount of talent in one room was just scary and amazing and terrifying all at the same time. So I really wanted to go. And it started really well, okay? It was one of those kind of events where we meant to get there for pre-registration on the Friday night, and we missed it by about half an hour. So that was a little bit frustrating, but, you know, we'd stopped for a glass of wine and things like that. So ended up going to the pub where everybody else was going after the pre-reg had finished, and walk into the pub, and there was a kind of celebrity moment, which was embarrassing and hilarious, where as soon as we walked in the door, someone yelled, "Jess!" And everyone looked around looking for this famous Jess, and it was just me in my jeans and a hoodie because I hadn't dressed up unlike everyone else. So that was a little bit uncomfortable, but also really nice because the person who was shouting my name was somebody who'd interviewed me on her podcast last year, and that was really awesome. And it was just great, right? It was great to catch up. And then I looked to my left. So as I was about to fight my way to the bar, I looked to my left, and there was Pat Flynn, just sat there, chilling. How amazing is that? I was like, I looked to my left and Pat Flynn was just there. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And later on in the evening, I got him to give me a hug, and I also persuaded him to give some other lady a hug. So yeah, it was going well, right? The start of it was fun. I had a good time. I met some new friends. I insulted some football clubs inadvertently. And there was an awkward moment where, you know, I met a man in the toilet because I didn't know that they were unisex, and we had a little bit of an awkward conversation where I thought I was in their gents, but I wasn't. So all good, you know, all good. But the thing was, it was just a great atmosphere. People were really interested in what other people were doing. People were sharing tips, people were sharing techniques, people were, you know, helping people who were at the beginning stages of their journey. They were offering feedback to people who were further down the line. People walking up to other people and saying, oh my God, I watch your Facebook lives all the time, or I listen to your podcast, or I'm on your email list. And it was just very, very cool. It was a very, very warm atmosphere. And I wasn't honestly expecting that, because some of these conferences that I've been to, if I'm honest, have been a little bit like everyone's very awkward. Nobody really knows who to talk to. Nobody wants to share ideas in case somebody steals them. And it gets a little bit pitchy McGross, right? Everyone's there trying to hand out business cards and working out who they can pitch as their next client. But this is nothing like that. And, you know, that was really cool. And then the conference started. And I have 4 key takeaways I want to share today. Usually I have 3 because I'm very very OCD about numbers, and I really like the number 3. So it kind of pained me to have 4 today, but I have 4. And these are things that are not rocket science. Okay, they're not going to be things that you haven't heard before, but they are things that will massively, massively impact the growth, success, and ultimately your sales and profits in your business if you take them on board like I did at this conference. Okay. Now, the first one I want to talk about is mastery, because I watched a ton of people speak at this conference. Okay. There was a lot of speakers there. All of them were absolute experts in their field. You know, we had a New York Times bestseller, we had top iTunes podcasters, we had people who were the just queens and kings of social media and video and branding. The skill in the room was phenomenal. And the one thing that really came up was that these people had taken the time to master not only the skill that they had, so not only, you know, writing books or creating videos, but they'd also taken the time to master their message as well. And that's a huge thing, because mastering your message is not small. But when you have a skill and when you have a clear message and you're putting that in front of the right people, sales come through like there's no tomorrow. It's just ridiculous. And these people were perfect examples of that. You know, these people were genuinely standout leaders in their field. And so for me, it really brought up that old statistic about you needing, or it taking, around 7,000 hours to become an expert in your field, right? 7,000 hours. Just think about that, okay? Because it's actually quite a long time. And I say that and I'm like, I'm now wondering like how many days 7,000 hours is. I'll have to Google that when I'm finished. But anyway, 7,000 hours is a long time. And I often see people and they come to me and, you know, they're maybe struggling with sales or visibility or whatever it looks like, but they've actually had really successful careers before they came into the online world. Perhaps they had offline businesses, you know, brick and mortar businesses. They've been successful. And then they come into the online world and they don't start out that way. You know, they feel like they have to pay their dues all over again. They start at the bottom. And then on the other end of the scale, we have people who literally just rock up one day and they're like, oh, you know, today I'm going to be a sales coach. And in 2 weeks' time, when that doesn't work out, they're like, oh, I'm going to be a health coach now. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm going to be a business coach because a ton of people are making money there. And they go on and on and on. They change and change and change and change and change. And they never actually master their skill. And more importantly, they never master their message. So when they are talking about the skill that they have kind of learned or are learning, they're talking about it to the wrong ears. And so people aren't buying. And that's the true reason behind it. You know, it isn't just about having the talent. It's about being able to monetize it. And the only way you're going to be able to monetize that talent is if you tell the right people about it. If you're clear about who you can help and how you can help them. If you're clear in your message, if you're putting your message in front of the right people. And also, if you have the skill that you say you have, because obviously if you don't have the skill that you say you have, you know, if you're a web designer, or if you say you're a web designer and then you deliver a website that probably looked great circa 1993, nobody else is going to hire you. Okay. Your business is going to take a nosedive because nobody will refer you, and that will be a problem. So you've really got to look at, okay, are you mastering your skill? You know, and not only have you mastered your skill, and I'm always saying this to people, I always want to learn more. I always want to develop more. I'm always reading sales books. I'm always reading psychology books. I'm always taking courses. I'm always, you know, being mentored. And the reason isn't that I'm not confident or competent in my own skills. It's because I don't want to fall behind. I don't want to not keep my eye on industry trends. I don't want to fall behind in knowing what's going on and what's working and what new strategies I could potentially be bringing to my clients. So it's not just about mastering a skill once and being like, yeah, cool. No, I learned how to ride a bike in, 85, but Now I'm pretty sure that I could just do it again, having not ridden one in 20 years. It's not like that. It really is about continuous learning and development and continuous dedication to really being that expert in your field. And that really stood out to me during the course of the conference. And it was really, really cool because there were people on that stage, you know, multi-6-figure, 7-figure business owners. And what they were saying was not, hey, look at me, I am the expert, I know everything. But they were saying, hey, this is what I've done, this is my journey so far, and this is where I want to go. This is the stuff that I'm still learning. This is the stuff that I still want to be better at. And that was really, really cool. You know, because I think so often, especially in the online world, there's this desire to be perfect, right? And we all worry about being perfect. What are people thinking of us? You know, what are people judging us on? Do people really know that we haven't got our shit together? And the reality is that it's not about being perfect. It's about mastering your skill and being humble enough to know that there is always going to be something else to learn. And I thought that was huge. You know, that was a really, really good reminder for me at the conference. A really, really good reminder. I was really, really excited about it, actually, because it really made me think, oh, I remember now. I remember now why I charge what I do. I remember now why I'm so committed to providing a high quality service, because actually it's years and years and years of learning and development and commitment to learning my craft. And actually it's years and years and years of working out who I can help, how I can help them, and making sure that my message gets out to them on the right platform for me. And that's something I want to talk about in a sec. So the next thing that was really cool was it was commitment. It was consistency. You know, that was a huge takeaway for me. And bear in mind, I've been in business 3 years. So the statistic goes that 90% of businesses will fail in the first 2 years. Okay, that's according to the UK government. It's actually quite a depressing statistic, but it's true. Okay, 90% of businesses fail within the first 2 years. So I kind of feel like being in the 3-year mark is something I'm celebrating. I'm like, yay, I've made it. I've made it past the part where I'm supposed to not be doing well. And actually, part of being successful in business is not about adopting new strategies all the time. It's not about looking for the next shiny object. And I can tell you this as somebody who in 2016 sold 63 different products, programs and services just to test what my audience liked most, and who over the past couple of years has spent time in terms of visibility strategies looking at blogging, vlogging, podcasting, Facebook Lives, growing an engaged Facebook group, engaging on my Facebook business page, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Blab, Periscope, and more. Okay, that's like 12 just there. And what I found when I looked at this, and this really did hit me, you know, like a train as I sat in this conference, and all these people sat there and they were talking about how their businesses had skyrocketed and when their businesses skyrocketed. And I thought, oh yeah, I remember when my business really shot up. And it was when I started being super consistent with Facebook Lives in my Facebook group. I actually doubled my revenue pretty much overnight using Facebook Live in my business. Now, does that mean that I was just somebody who was ridiculously good at Facebook Lives? I'd like to think so, but the reality is probably not. The reason is that I was really consistent. For a whole year, 5 times a week, I went into my Facebook group every day and I did a 30 to 45 minute training every single day, completely free, Monday to Friday. It was a lot of work, okay? And the reality is that I don't think I could do that now. I really don't. I'm not entirely sure how I had the energy. But it's also no surprise that during that year, 46% of my revenue, so quite a large chunk of my revenue, came from Facebook, came from my Facebook group directly. And that was because I'd been consistent. I was showing up there consistently every single day. I was giving value in there consistently, building relationships in there consistently, nurturing well, selling regularly. And so obviously it was the natural place for the majority of my revenue to come. When we look at the rest of the places my revenue came from, it was kind of haphazard. because I was trying so many different things. I was trying to be across so many different platforms and in so many different places and talking about so many different programs and stuff that it was really no surprise. The majority of my revenue had come from the place that I'd been most consistent, and the platform that I was most consistent on. And that was really interesting because everybody at the conference had very different platforms that they were consistent on. Some were in podcasting. There's actually tons of podcasters there. It's amazing. Some people were more focused on video, YouTube, Instagram lives, Facebook lives. Some people were really about books. Joanna Penn was there, New York Times bestselling author, and she has tons and tons of books, fiction, non-fiction, business books. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But she wasn't all over social media. The majority of the speakers did not have Facebook groups. They didn't have free Facebook communities. And people are shocked by this because nowadays in the online space, everyone has a Facebook group. You've got to have a Facebook group to survive, right? That's how everyone gets clients. But it's not. And it's so interesting because the key thing that came across was master your skill, master your message, get it in front of the right people on the platform that works for you. And again, eye-opening. When I started my business, I was adamant, I don't want to do Facebook. I really, really hated Facebook. I'd never really had it before. I didn't really get it. And I just saw a ton of people trying to air their dirty laundry and arguments with their partners on Facebook. And I was like, ugh, no. And over time, I started getting more used to it, but it wasn't my first choice. But because I was consistent on that, I was getting clients. And what I see a lot of now is that people are so keen to be everywhere. Everyone wants to be omnipresent, in the words of Gary Vee, that they're trying to be on Instagram, they're on Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, they're on Facebook, they're growing massive groups, they're trying to run vlogs and podcasts and all the things. And it doesn't work because you cannot be consistent in that many places. And then it poses the question, which I got asked quite a lot at the summit actually, which was, but if I'm not everywhere, how will I be in the right place for my ideal clients? And I have the same answer every time. It's very boring, so I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but there are 7.5 billion people in the world. 7.5 billion. 90% of those people have smartphones. 90%, like 90% of people have access to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, to YouTube, to podcasts, just by virtue of having a smartphone. And yet everyone worries that if they're not on one platform, oh God, I'm not on Pinterest, then they're suddenly going to lose a ton of clients. It's just not true. It's really, really not true. And you will not lose sales just because you're not on one platform, right? The idea is, and Johnny D must put this really well, and it's something that I'm always saying to my clients, is you want to go 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep. i.e., you want to dominate one area of the industry, one message, one platform. And once you've done that, once you're being consistent about podcasting or vlogging or however you want to interact with the audience, once you've really been consistent with your messaging and you're making money and you're delivering great results with your clients, that's when you branch out. That's when you go, oh, okay, cool. Well, I've nailed YouTube, so might repurpose that video and make it into a podcast. Might take my show notes and make it into a blog and see what happens there. And equally, it's when you can move into different ideal clients. Great, I'm really, really good at helping newbies get results. Now I'm going to help people who are 18 months down the line or who are making a specific revenue target each month. That's when you start changing it up. When you've mastered one, when you've been consistent in one area and you're getting results, that's when you kind of broaden it out a bit. Tony Robbins did not start like he did today, okay? They don't start doing everything. No generalist starts doing everything, as much as we would love to. And I can tell you this as somebody who, did sell 63 programs in 1 year, and who wants to have planners and branded journals and have an e-commerce store and run these one-to-one things and do these masterminds and have these group programs. I can tell you that everyone wants to do lots of things. Everyone wants to do speaking events. Everyone wants to be featured in a ton of publications, but you can't do them all overnight. You have to master one ideal client, one platform, one sales structure. And once you've got that working for you, once you're getting results, once you're doing really, really well at it, that's when you go, oh, okay, cool. I've got the hang of this. I'm going to bring in another factor. I'm going to bring in a different ideal client. I'm going to bring in another element to my messaging. And that's fine, right? Because you've got revenue coming in. You're making profit. It's all good. You can afford to invest time and energy and money into making another area of work too. But when you're starting from zero, you don't want to be expending tons and tons of energy into areas that you are not confident in, because it'll be very, very difficult to monetize them. Okay, and that really came across at the conference. It was really, really cool to watch people who didn't just choose a platform because they thought they could make a ton of money on there. They chose a message, and they chose an ideal client, and they chose a platform that they could be consistent on because they enjoyed it, right? And that was huge. And then the third thing that came up was about focus. And this was, John Lee Dumas did a keynote talk on Saturday morning at 8:30. Okay. I'm not an early morning person. So when they all start like cheering and you're getting really excited at 8:30 in the morning, I'm not that person unless I've had 2 coffees and a biscuit, and potentially some fruit. I'm kind of a troll, I'm really not a morning person. But his keynote was amazing. And for me, the biggest word that came out of it was about focus. He shared this incredible story about when he was starting out and he looked at his ideal client and he looked at the way that he consumed content. He felt that there was this big thing missing when it came to podcasting. He felt that there was a need for a podcast that really gave the aha moments of key entrepreneurs and key influencers and gave the big learning lessons so that other people could learn from the mistakes they'd made and from the wins that they'd had. And he also felt, because of his ideal client avatar, that this needed to be daily. He was like, my people, they listen to a podcast episode on the way to work. So that's twice a day. And so if there aren't a ton of episodes, and they're having to binge on one season and then suddenly it's gone for 6 weeks, they fall out of love with it. They're not there anymore. And so he went to his mentors and he said, hey, look, I want to do a daily podcast. I want to interview somebody every single day and talk about their journey as an entrepreneur. And his mentors apparently said, you're crazy. So, that's always a little bit disheartening, a little bit scary, because when you're doing something that is pushing the boundary and your mentors are advising against it, that can be challenging, right? But he knew that this was the need for his audience. And 1,800 episodes later and over 500,000 subscribers, he can tell them that they were wrong. That he did do the right thing, that he did choose the right path. But the biggest reason he succeeded was not because he had this deep desire to prove them wrong. It was because he had enough focus to stay in his own lane. He didn't look at what everyone else was doing. Everyone was telling him, hey, you'll never be able to create enough content. You'll never be able to get enough people to interview. It's going to take you hours and hours of work to, record the interview, edit it daily, etc., etc. And yet John Lee Dumas now, 2 days a month, records 15 interviews a day. And the rest of the month, he gets to do whatever he wants. Isn't that amazing? And that's not because he looked at who the podcasters were of that generation and went, oh, okay, they do a show once a week, so I'm just going to do that. It wasn't, he didn't let other people and comparisonitis get in the way. He didn't worry about what people thought. He looked at his ideal client, he looked at their biggest problem, and he went, yeah, I can solve that. And this is the way that I'm going to be innovative. And then he stuck with it. Even when people said, nah, it's not going to work. He stuck with it. He believed in it. And he made it happen. How bloody incredible is that? I think that's amazing. Genuinely, it was huge to me. And it really made me think, because over 3 years, I've done lots of different things. I've played at doing lots of different things, right? I've tested lots of different visibility strategies. I have tried lots of different sales strategies. I've launched lots of different programs, products, you name it, I've done it. And again, this is nothing new. But when we focus on something, when we really are passionate about making that thing happen, we do it. We succeed. Suddenly we're not spreading ourselves so thin. We're not trying to go in 20 different directions or launch 3 programs at the same time to 2 different ideal clients. When we're focused, when we're in our own lane, when we stop the comparisonitis, when we stop looking at other people and going, oh, well, they look like they're making more money, getting more clients, have more followers, actually big things happen. And it was a really good reminder for me, genuinely really, really exciting reminder for me, because it's always the basics that make your business work. It's always the basics that make your business successful. And I think sometimes in the online space, especially when it comes to sales, there are always going to be those people who are going to sell you a 15-step strategy to, the perfect sales funnel, or webinars are the new big thing, or, whatever the newest shiny object is on the block. And the reality is, there is no one thing that's going to make you more successful than somebody else. It comes down to, are you prepared to master a skill? Are you prepared to know your ideal client, to develop your message, to understand their pain points, to sell something that actually they really need? Are you prepared to show up consistently every day, even when you don't feel like it? Are you meeting the expectations? Are you setting expectations? Are you telling your clients, I am going to be showing up on a podcast twice a week on Monday and Friday, and I'm going to be talking about this on one day and that on the other day, and that's how you can find me. And if you want anything else, go and sign up to my email list, and I'll email you there twice a week. Are you being that consistent? And if you're not, why not? What's stopping you? Because I know you're creative. I get that. I know you're multi-passionate. I get that too. But do you not ever look at it and go, the times that I focus, the times that I use that skill that I've mastered, that message that I've absolutely nailed, that I've been super consistent, I've showed up, I've been visible, I've said the message time and again until I'm sick of hearing about it, and I've really focused on what I am good at and using a platform that works for me, I've had results. I've got more followers. I've made a sale, got a client. Do you ever think that? Because I do. And that's what I thought this weekend when I was at the conference. I was like, oh yeah, I remember now. I remember back at the beginning of my business, people telling me this: focus on one thing, master your skill, master your message, be really consistent. And I remember looking at those people thinking, but I have all these things I want to do. I want to do speaking events. I want to be featured in magazines. I want to have a podcast and a YouTube channel and a this and a that. And you know what? 3 years on, and it has taken me 3 years. Yes, I've been featured in Forbes. That took me 2 years. Yes, I've got a podcast. That took me 3. Yes, I've tried vlogging, and I realized actually it's not for me. You have to put makeup on and you have to record things in batches, and that drives me potty. There are lots of things that I've tried, and there are lots of things I've been really successful at. But the things that I've been successful at are the things where I've learned the skill. I've mastered the skill. I've mastered the message behind it. I've understood why my audience needs it. I've been consistent about showing up in one space. I've focused on it, and I've made sure that I'm not looking at everyone else and what they're doing and how they're selling it. I've just done my own thing. And that's where I've made the money. And that also is where I've had the most fun. That's what's really important in business. You don't set out to start a business so you can create another job that you don't like. Nobody starts a business so they can be working every weekend, working 16 hours a day, never seeing their friends, never socializing. But that's all right, because they're spending 24/7 at their laptop hoping that things are going to work. That's not why you leave a job. You leave a job to build a life. You build a business that fits around that life, not one that dictates it, right? And that was huge, and for me, that does come from these 3 core elements: mastery, consistency, focus. And then the 4th thing I learned, and I'm only going to touch on this because I'm aware that we're heading towards that 30-minute mark. And so a lot of you will have finished dog walking, and I seem to go on a lot of dog walks with people on the podcast. I love it. I've had 2 people, I've had Liz and Claire, message me and let me know that they take me out on their dog walks. So thank you. and I'm sure that other people have these 30-minute windows too. So the 4th thing I want to touch on is that the big thing that came to me, and I was part of the mastermind sessions. I was very, very fortunate in that they ran mastermind breakout sessions where you talk to your table of 8 or 9 people, and everyone would get 15 minutes in the hot seat, and you would help them solve their problems in their business, right? And obviously lots of problems kind of come from sales, they come from marketing. So it was really cool for me to be able to support people and say, oh yeah, have you tried this? Have you thought about that? And give some feedback. And it was also really interesting to hear what other people thought, and see what problems people were experiencing. And then it came to my turn, and I didn't really have any questions in my business. I'm very fortunate. I'm at a really good point in my business where I love it. It's going well. And the big thing that came to me, and that I'd been watching over the course of the summit, that I'd been experiencing with clients, that I'd been just seeing in the industry in general, was, do you think there's room for a thought leader who is prepared to take a stand against the shiny objects and against this is the magic one-way system to success? And what I mean by that is not there is a magical way that the gurus just aren't telling you, because there isn't. But everybody's selling something. Everyone's saying, yeah, you can only make a ton of money if you do webinars, or in order to make your business successful, you have to have an opt-in, and then an email sequence, and then a tripwire, and then another email sequence, and then a core offer, and then another email sequence, and then a mastermind, and then a this, and a challenge, and a masterclass. And it's so bloody tiring, because I see so many people doing that. They're spending all this time blogging. They're putting SEO keywords on their website. They're looking at all their metadata. They're building traffic for years and years and years. They're doing Facebook retargeting ads. They're creating opt-ins like there's no tomorrow. They're making these $10 tripwires when actually they want to be selling $12,000 one-on-one coaching programs. And it's not working. And I know why it's not working. We all know why it's not working. It's because there is no one way. What works for me, the system that runs in my business and brings in revenue day after day, doesn't necessarily work for somebody else. Isn't that funny? And I genuinely say that not in a condescending or a patronizing way, but isn't that funny? Like in an awful way, not like a funny ha, that's hilarious, but that's kind of shocking. There is no one way to be successful. Okay, for some people it will be webinars. For others it will be challenges. Some people, Facebook groups will be the way forward for them. For others, it'll be paid traffic, podcasts, vlogs. It won't necessarily be high ticket 10 grand programs. For some people, it will be multiple high volume, lower ticket stuff. And that's cool. But we all seem to be getting a bit brainwashed into, we have to have this structure and we have to sell this thing. And we have to do it like this, and our marketing has to look like that, and we have to follow this weird, unspoken, unknown rule, an unknown sequence that sets us up for success, but is actually setting people up to fail. And it was quite interesting to have the conversation, because everyone did agree, yeah, actually, this is a conversation that we need to be having. And it was interesting and heartbreaking all at once, because it's really hard. As a sales coach, it is hard because money isn't hard to make. It's actually very simple. And it doesn't matter what you do, and it doesn't matter what niche you're in, and it doesn't matter what message you have, and it doesn't matter what platform you use. And this is the biggest thing that I came away with from the conference, was that it doesn't matter. There is no one that is going to work for everybody. What works for me may not work for my clients. What works for them may not work for theirs. Do you know what there is though? And this is what I want to kind of stress, is because I don't want to be massively depressing. That would just be weird. But it's not about the one thing. It's not about choosing the technical aspects. It's not about choosing the right platform. It's about having the right structure to make sales in your business. Being successful in business is not about choosing, oh, okay, well, Gary Vee loves Snapchat right now, so I'm going to use that because that made him really successful. So of course it's going to be the same for me. Or Lewis Howes has a podcast, so he's making a ton of money, so I'm going to get a podcast. Or, my mentor, Dan Meredith, he just wrote a book. It's not about me looking at him and going, well, he wrote a book and tons of people love that, so I'm just going to write a book. It's really not about that. It's about looking at the structure of your business and understanding the psychology behind why your audience buy, why you sell and how you sell, how you choose to show up and how you enjoy being visible. And then it's about slotting in pieces from there. I think I'm going to have to do another episode about it because it's actually quite a big process, but it's one that I work with my clients, and it's so powerful because the reason my clients, get results is not because I'm some kind of ninja, although I'd love to be. Like, I really would. I'd love to be a ninja. It's because I don't force them to fit in a box. We look at what is going to work for them, not what's going to work for me, not what's going to work for their main competitor, what's going to work for them based on their psychology, their buyer psychology, and all of the other environmental factors that go into business building, that go into marketing, that go into sales. Because there really isn't a cookie cutter way. And when we look at these cookie cutter businesses, it makes us sick. And that's why people give all this feedback around, someone used this, weird email thing and it's really caught on and now everyone's using it. Someone's using this kind of template for their Facebook ad. Now we've all seen it a gazillion times and we hate it. There isn't any one way that will work for you. Okay, that it isn't about using what everyone else is going to use. It's about identifying what is right for you, what is fun for you, what lights you up, how do you enjoy interacting and engaging with people, what problem are you really here to solve, what do your buyers need from you, what do they need to hear, what results do they want, what kind of transformation are they looking for. It's all of those things that come into it. So I'm going to do a different episode on it because this conference really made me think about it, and it made me think that this conversation needs to happen. Okay, we do need to get much more transparent about the fact that the things that worked 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they're not working now. Okay, they're not all working now. And even the things that still are really popular, they're not working for everyone. Why is that? Okay, that's what I really want to dig into. But that, like I say, it's a future episode waiting to happen. And obviously, if you do want to start the conversation, if you do want to approach me and be like, yeah, Jess, I think you're right, or hey, Jess, I think you're completely wrong, put me an email. I'd really love it. I really, really want to have this conversation. I really want to be transparent about it. I really want to, give people a structure that works where you can just pop in the things that feel good for you and you do make the money and you do be as successful as you want. But obviously I don't want to have the conversation if nobody wants to hear it. So drop me an email, jessica@jessicalorimer.com, or alternatively, join the Facebook group. It's free to join, the Smart Leaders Sales Society, and tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you've tried. Has it worked? Which bits have worked? Which bits haven't? If you're feeling really brave, tell me what you think went really well, what you think didn't. Okay, because I really genuinely would love to know. And like I say, I do want to do another episode where we dig into why the opt-in, email sequence, tripwire, upsell, core offer, masterclass, challenge, blah, 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 blah model is not working for everyone and what you can do instead. All right. But yeah, so just to summarize, Youpreneur was phenomenal. I learned a ton. I learned primarily that going back to basics is everything. That actually there are lots of things that I need to take stock of in my own business and that I need to focus on being more consistent with, that I need to look at what am I actually enjoying, what do I really want to be doing, and how do I really want to be growing my business in 2018. And then the other thing was, conferences are a blast. Be cool with the speakers. don't necessarily accost them in toilets like I did to Joanna Penn, with my wet hands just after we both had a wee. It was a little bit uncomfortable, and we were both like, oh, do we shake hands? Do we not shake hands? We didn't shake hands. We just kind of said hi, but do go up to them at the back of the room. I went up to Carrie Green at the back of the room and I said, hey, I'm at your event in 2 weeks. And she was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah. And I, really, really excited about it. And I did the same for Amy Schmatara. I went up to her and I was like, I've never heard of you before this, but your talk was phenomenal. It really made me see video in a completely different light. It was wicked. And she was like, oh, thanks. Get your selfies in, obviously. But, really do think about the key takeaways and tell the speakers, because what I've always found is it's really nice when somebody tells you what their key takeaway is, what their key learn is, because then they actually listened and that they really enjoyed it and it's valuable feedback. And the other thing is, have an absolute ball. If you are going to live events or conferences or meetups or anything like that, go in, be warm, be open to sharing ideas, be the person in the room that connects people. Be the person in the room that everyone wants to get to know. Be warm, be friendly, answer questions, and you will have the best time. I really hope that this has all been valuable. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button. Leave me a review. Let me know how I'm getting on. Let me know if I am welcome in your earbuds, if you are enjoying the information that you're getting. And obviously make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any other episodes. I'm going to be back on Friday. I've got a really, really cool deep dive training and live coaching session coming this week with one of my favorite entrepreneurs. So that's very exciting. And also I'm going to be bringing back another deep dive training next week as well. So it's all going to get, I was just about to say, it's getting hot in here, but I'm not really sure that I can do that. So we'll leave it on that note. Have an epic, epic week. I will see you on Friday.